Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Chat About Death. My name is Chris, and I will be guiding you through this episode today. Hope you're doing all well in whatever you're doing currently. So we get asked a lot about, do you see anything paranormal in our industry? And for those people that don't know, I run my own funeral home in Melbourne, Australia. And I've been doing this for 24 years. And, I can tell you that we have seen a lot. So let's just go a little bit more into that paranormal things. I know there's some of you out there that might go, nah, not into that, and some that will go, wow, Chris, tell me more. In the early days of first coming into the industry, I probably didn't think too much of it because I guess it's like anything in life, you just follow what you're taught. You know, there's no such thing as ghosts and ghouls and witches and all these other types of things. But then obviously you start reading more of the historical type of stuff and you think, there's a reason why things have happened in the past. But I guess one of the things that obviously we take for granted is, I believe, is life. People just go, yep, tomorrow's a new day, I can do whatever, but how do you know that that's going to happen? And we don't. So for us, we are very honoured and to be able to get someone's loved one into our care centre and be able to give them beautiful treatment. So in regards to washing and dressing, etc. So you all know that obviously we've set out to do these podcasts, Let's Chat About Death, because no one ever seems to want to talk about it. And you will hear me probably every single episode that I do that we should be educating people more in what we need to learn is death is okay. And so let's dig a little bit deeper. So, as I just went off on a bit of a tangent, so I do apologize. So getting into the paranormal side of things, like I said, when I started, I didn't really, things were probably happening and I've just gone, okay, well, that's normal, or is it? But I didn't want to say anything to anyone. And I think this is where we all sort of come unstuck, because how do you know that Joe Blog that you're talking to hasn't had the same experience? And it is that 50-50. Do I, and 50% chance that he or she is going to say, oh, yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Or is it going to be that they're going to go, oh, mate, you're a Fruit Loop. So, look, I just let it roll. I just let it roll. I just went along with my everyday job, and then more and more things were happening. And I guess this is where I started to become more attuned to certain noises or sounds or voices. And when I say voices, I'm hearing people and there's no one else in the building. Now, it could have been just a few words, or it could have been a sentence, or it could have been children laughing. And that is freaky when you know that there is no children, because you know how children have got that sort of, that higher pitch. Now, I'm not very good at doing that, but that higher pitch laugh, so younger children, and you just think, not unless the kids are up early next door, neighborhood home or something like that. Because when I first started, I started in a building that was in a pretty well-to-do area, and that building was already 100 plus years old. and it had been an orphanage, it had been a medical clinic, it had been like a doctor's surgery, and then finally got turned into a funeral home. But now, drum roll, please, it is now units. So all that time, all those years has now just been, yeah. So all I can say is good luck to the people that are living in those units, because the residue of what was there will still be there. I can vouch for that 100%. So how did I move forward from all of those noises? Now, I used to just arrive, half an hour prior to, say, my normal start time, because you didn't know how traffic was going to go. And I would normally come in and there was enough light that you could see what you were doing, but you had to wait until your sort of eyes adjusted a little bit, if that makes sense. Probably know what I'm talking about. So I would walk in the back door, go into the mortuary area, and they'd have the big stainless steel doors that you would open up and get out the funerals that were happening, or the coffins that were happening for that day. And at this location, there might have been 4, maybe 5, sometimes only 1. So it just depended on the day. So I've gone in and I would do this regularly, and then I would just think, well, yeah, I'm hearing things, or I'd sense something behind me or beside me, and I'd go, nah. Or for those that do have some form of ability, you will know what I'm talking about when you do get that that touch, or that it's like static electricity, and it might not. It's not from anything else. It's not that. Apart from I've opened the fridge and it's cool, so it's not like that cold chill that you get. And this went on for quite some time, and I could still hear children. I could still hear, things sort of, or people talking, and it might have been, good morning, good morning, hello, and I'd get to the stage that I thought maybe there is someone here, and I do have to say hello, and I know that none of the other staff were there, and it got to me, so I'd start walking around the building, yelling out, hello, is anyone here? Check the doors. The doors are still locked. There's no one. I'd come in, get the day sheets and all ready to go. And then I started to sort of go, well, and some of the other locations that we had too were quite old, against some new, or there's been quite some traumatic things that have happened in that location, or funerals that we've had of people that have died tragically. And, once again, they may have held on in that location, or something, or nothing was cleaned up the way that it should have been, or there might have been a personal item. So there's all sorts of things that go into that whole paranormal thing. You hear of people that have bought antique furniture or mirrors, and they go, just the whole room changed when we brought this dresser in. And you think, oh, yeah, okay. So, they're beautiful. Some of those antiques are just really, really, really lovely. But how do you know, or if you're not experienced enough to, say, do a blessing or smudge it or sage it, whatever you want to call it, smudge or sage, just to make sure that it is clean and it is being blessed. It's not a religious thing, but blessed. So if there is anything that they know that they're not to play, okay? It's and mirrors. You think about a mirror, how much, and I'm talking about a mirror that's been in a location for, say, 100 years. How many things has that mirror seen? How many arguments? How many lies? How many fights? How many just souls coming in and out? Sometimes mirrors can be portals. Going a little bit in depth, but people go, nah, I'm not into that. Don't like that. Portals are a lot of crap. But yeah, if you had 2 mirrors that were opposite each other, move them. Don't keep it like that. You can read up on that, but once again, some people don't believe in that. But some mirrors, once again, you can bless it, you can sage or smudge it, and you say what your intentions are. And obviously, the intentions are, if there is anything that is here, that we close it off. We don't want you coming out. We just want to see ourselves in the mirror. Imagine that, staring into the mirror, doing your hair or your makeup for those ladies, and then all of a sudden seeing another face appear or something behind you. Wouldn't you absolutely, poo yourself?
Wow.
Yeah, and having the sort of these people sort of approaching you, but it's like, ooh, who's at the door? But yeah, that would be, but beautiful, beautiful items, and it'd be interesting, to like go to an antique store and just get a feel. And we haven't as a family. I don't think we've ever done it, but just to get the feel of some things. But then on the other side is I don't want to ever bring anything back with me either. But that's called protection. Archangel Michael is the protector of anything like that. So if you ever want to protect yourself or your home or your house or whatever, or yourself, then just reach out to Archangel Michael. He's a good bloke. But also there is jewelry that you can, and crystals that you can use to protect yourselves from any negative entities or negative thoughts or whatever that's happening around. Right. So the saga keeps going. Now, I'm probably talking months down the track. I started to feel a little bit more stronger, and voices or feelings were starting to get a little bit more stronger. And I'm not saying like, full on like, whoa, but yeah, I'm thinking that I just wasn't alone. But the thing that got me one day, and I think I may have already brought this up with another episode, so I apologize that I am repeating, but for those that haven't listened to those before episodes, do yourself a favor and go and listen to them. You might learn a thing or two, or how weird I am. One of those. So I come in this day and I thought, oh, there's like a bike, like a push bike there, and I thought, oh, maybe it's our assistant manager's bike, because he used to ride quite a bit, and I thought, oh, maybe he's dropped it off and then picked up a car early and gone and used that on a job or whatever. So I just went, yep, no worries. And so I've walked into the mortuary area like I did every other morning, no lights on. Well, I've opened up the door and, oh my God, he is standing in the door going, "Rah!" Like, oh, far out. Well, I think I jumped out of my skin, and I reckon I jumped probably 12 feet up in the air, out of body experience. And, wow, it was, it was all of that. And to this day, I find it hard to go into a mortuary or even into our cool rooms, like, without lights. It's, he stuffed it for me big time. And to this day, I haven't heard from him for a while, but he knows that I still have that fear of it. And up until then, no issue whatsoever. I could do whatever. But then, oh no, lights on, making sure, hello, I'm coming in now, and I open up our call rooms with, good morning or good afternoon. I don't want anything. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing, but it has affected me. Yeah. So how's that? How's that for a bit of? You may have had a similar experience where you've felt something at home. Or things would move. You put something down and then all of a sudden it would be over the other side, or, drawers would be open when you know that you've closed them. TV goes on and off. The lights flicker. Like little alarms go. All sorts of things can happen if people are trying to reach out to you. Now, I know of some people that have reached out to us saying, are you able to investigate our house? Because we feel as though nothing scary, but we know that someone is there. And I've always said, if people are open to that, then more the merrier. I'm happy to do that. And we've got some pretty good equipment, that we can use that has had some really good results. So we are, we're prepared. We're prepared for anything that was us to do, pretty much. So older homes or homes that have had some, and I'll use the word turbulence inside, marriages that have gone pear-shaped, or, there's been some really violent type acts happening there, or I don't know, just sort of toxic turbulence. And if you've ever been on a plane, what turbulence does, it mixes you up and down and inside out, and makes you nearly poo yourself. But it has that ability. So it's the same with when people leave. If no one comes in and blesses the home, or no one, gets rid of any of that residue, then it's going to remain. So sometimes, they could be attached to the land, they could be attached to the building. So I think some people aren't, they want to find out, but then if we start digging deeper, is it going to make it worse? And look, until you start investigating, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So isn't death a really interesting, or after death, I should say, a really interesting topic? Because no one has really come back in the physical form, and we know that, that I have heard about. There might be such a thing. I know there's been people that have had near-death experiences, and even that just blows my mind, some of the stories, but is it more, it's been in someone's subconscious and they're telling a story, or is it, if one person comes back, but 10, 20 people come back and they say the same thing and they don't know each other, then it's more of a believable thing, isn't it? That's what we as a society tends to hang on to, is what we're told or thinking of. So in our mortuary area, or in our care centre area, we have a night watchman. Now, you're probably thinking, something's been labelled. Yes. And his name is Jeffrey. Now, I think on one of my other episodes, we were talking about Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey is a lovely man. He was in his late 70s that for 3 years was trying to get a job with me. Every time I would put an advert out there, he'd be going, pick me, pick me. I don't need to be paid. I just want to come and work. I did palliative care. I've done this. I've done that. He lived most of his life as working, making trains, but also he worked in the mines, which then eventually finally got a hold of him, and he unfortunately did pass away due to respiratory issues. Now, I said, Jeffrey, look, mate, you're 70-something, you're late 70s. I said, I don't know what you're going to physically going to be able to do, because it is quite a, you got to have some muscle behind it, and if you're moving people or transferring people from a house, and might be a set of stairs, and even for him to just get rubber gloves on took him 15 minutes. But I used to always take the mickey out of him. He was such a lovable guy. But then he drove me up the wall. So he got to the point where I went, you know what, come in. So Long story short, I hired him and he worked with us for a good, 12 to 18 months off and on. And we really got to see a good side of him and learn a lot about him. And I'm really kicking myself that I didn't get to employ him earlier. But I think things happen for a reason, don't they? There's reasons for that. So, he would have gone down to the market, or he's gone up to the shops. He'd end up wearing our shirt, our Bremba family funeral shirt. And even though he wasn't working, but he wanted to promote and he wanted to be a part of that. He actually, he was an engineer. So when I say making trains, he wasn't there like, screws and whatever. He was, let's see how they work and we can adapt that to that. So when he when he'd be walking around the markets in the shops, he'd wear his shirt and he'd be very proud of it. And even when he passed away, and I was talking to his wife, because Jeffrey was a very he kept a lot of stuff to himself. Like he just think, he probably doesn't want to know how I care about him or whatever. And his wife just said the love that he had for me and our team of people, and was just amazing. And he never liked getting his photo taken, hated it. And on this one day, he said, "Oh, can you take a photo of me?" I went, "Oh, okay." So I did. Didn't think anything of it. And then, let's all get a team photo in front of Stretch, our hearse. Yep. So we did that. And Jeff, our limo guy, he took the photo for us, and it was beautiful. So later when I told his wife that, she went, "He doesn't like photos. Never." And I went, "Well, it's not that I didn't ask him. He asked me." Once again, things happen for a reason, because now that photo, single photo, we have in our care centre, and we have a workboard, like whiteboard, that has all our funerals and what's to happen, etc., up on the wall. And then we got a timber, like a backer that's got Jeff's board. So we've got his photo, his badge is attached to that, and we've got Jeff's board and everything there. So we told his wife, and she was just so, she just said he would love that. But she said, "Whatever you do, don't take it down. He'll haunt you." And I went, "Oh. Well, he was after me for 3 years, so what's more?" So she said, and even a psychic, "He'll be with you. Don't you worry about that," because how he spoke, if he could live and breathe at Bremba, he would have. And I was truly taken back by it, and I was really humbled. And so, I feel the presence of him. He's not there all the time, but that's okay. But I really need him to be there at night time to look after the place when we leave. And you'll hear the occasional noise from our cameras, or things happening, and you think, "Oh, I think that's Jeff." But it's just to know that he is there, and I've picked up voice, and I've picked up body form and orbs and things like that. So especially when you call them out and they do come, then look, I try to debunk everything, because even though I believe it's but I just want to make sure that was what it was. It wasn't anything else. So and those people that know me know that I do that too. So so he's one of our paranormal people that we have there. When we get people into our care that are, if I say, have energy. Now, not everyone that comes into our care will have 100% high energy, for a couple of reasons. A, they could be elderly and they feel as though that they don't need to show themselves, or they've lived their life and they've got nothing else to, and I'll use the word prove, got nothing else to prove or show or to reach out to us about. So that's not a bad thing either, because you know that we're still going to do the same role to help them. We know that that they're well looked after. The other ones that do come in might have a small little spark to go with it. So these souls show themselves either by orbs or manifesting into body shapes, or just mist. Sound is a big thing that tends to play havoc. You know, we've been in the mortuary, and I'll have a playlist that, you know, well, it's private, no one else can sort of get it, but it's a playlist. And that playlist, I know pretty much what song's on it. And one day I was doing a preparation. Yes, I think it was a gentleman, and younger gentleman, and he loved. It was what was it? Something with the strings or something, but it was like a classical piece. Now I didn't have any classical on my play. I think it might have been Reiki mix or something like that. So there was no. It just had sort of more that instrumental, calming, meditative with the Reiki frequencies and all that in there. And then all of a sudden, this song came into my head, and I'm thinking, why am I thinking of that? Oh no, what was it? It's an oboe one. Gabriel's Obe or something like that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the playlist changes, and this song comes on. Now, or this tune comes on. How does that happen? And of all these classical violin, piano, orchestra type music, that is the one that comes on after I was thinking of it. Now, I found out that song was one of his favourites, and he used to play it because he was a muso. So then once I found that out, that was a different relationship, because we were then able to communicate with him and say, hey, look, let's put that song on again. Or if you're here, can you make these lights flicker? Or can you, change the playlist? Or later on, can you show yourselves on the camera between these hours? Just get as much energy up and manifest as an orb or a mist, or make a noise so we can hear you. And I would say 85% of the time, it works. They do come at the time that we want them to. They do, reach out as an orb, or even if it's just one flyby. You know, it may not be come around again and shoot us with multiple orbs. It's just it's whatever they can manifest at that time. So yes, we've I mean, that's just one story. There's probably hundreds more that I could probably talk about in regards to a lot of that. So to answer the question, in my eyes, paranormal events are 100% legit. I know some of the shows that you watch on maybe YouTube or some of the other, like Foxtel and some of those, a lot of them are for ratings. I'm not saying that what they do isn't investigating properly, because I'm not a professional with that. But, I love to see it. But when they go, oh, what's that? Did you hear that? It's like, and you don't hear anything, and nor do you see anything, but it gets your interest. But to me, it's like, no, I want to see it. Show me on the camera. Let me hear it. Or they'll, it'll be ooga booga, and then they'll turn around and go, oh, it says get out. It's like, no, it said ooga booga. Oh, no, hear that. Oh, get out. No. The other, with our care center, I guess here. So the other thing with here is, so there's lots of things that do happen, and we could go a solid month without anything, and that's not bad either. We just know that everyone is happy, and we talk to them and just give them all the love and support that we can in their transitional point. So I do know what other directors do, and it's a bit of a disgrace on some of their parts, not everyone, but I know the care and dignity and respect that we give our loved ones here. So, um, and I protect our location. We've got crystals. I wear crystals. Lots of things. So our intentions are not to upset them or to destroy them. But we will help them move across if they're still lingering after the funeral. And that does happen. They don't want to go. It's like, oh, no, I need to talk to my family. Well, go and talk to your family. You don't need to be here anymore. This area of our space is not going to help you talk to your family. Some families aren't into it. They want to go, oh, no, that doesn't exist. So, it's important that if there is a soul left, we talk to them, let them communicate if they wish to, and then we just let their guardians come and get them. Just because you're on the other side doesn't mean that you can't communicate with loved ones if you have the right energy and the right people on the other side to help you. So I believe. I'm not a scientist with that, so I can't comment on that. So, let's chat about death has always, as I said before, has always been a positive environment for people to talk about issues or talk about real life experiences and talk about rituals and traditions that you may already know about, but there might be some, I guess, the insider part that you may not have been aware of. Most people, they'll go, okay, person dies, then they turn into yuck, like, oh, yeah, I can't touch them, can't do anything because they've passed. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, they turn up to a funeral, person's in a coffin or casket, they do a cremation or burial, and that's it. That's people's thing. That's the process. Whereas behind the scenes, there's probably about 30 hours of work involved. And I'll just go maximum 30 hours involved in process, arranging transportation to and from place of death, there might, and then the time between when things happen. So there's lots of work that goes in. So we're dealing with that loved one quite substantial when we're doing preparation and looking after them. The other side, I guess, of the paranormal is we have done several investigations at our local cemetery, and I chose our local because it didn't have too much electromagnetic field around it. Now, what I mean by that is those big crane-looking like electricity wires that go from one hill to another, or too much of the above ground things. Our area is quite old, so a lot of that is still having to be used, and it's working quite well. But I chose this cemetery because it's just up the street. But there's a little bit in there. When I say a little bit of history involved in there, and there's vets and there's children and just some really beautiful people, and even the funerals that we've done. That's what I mean. There's some really lovely souls that we've looked after that are currently there. So we set out one evening and waited until the security guard had left, and then because look, if I bring management, they'd go, yep, that's fine, just don't be silly. But on the other side, it's like we don't want to make ourselves a nuisance, so we just want to do our investigation, use our equipment, and see if it works. We don't want to be a show pony with it. So we went the old paranormal. So we got all of that equipment out and we started communicating. Now, what we did find is we got more communication from uh, children that had passed than what we did of the adults. Now, the fact that we took some of our children with us might have been a trigger, which then said, "Hey, I've got some friends here now," or and I think they were just curious. And we got some, and our videos are actually up on TikTok. So under Let's Chat About Death podcast, and that's Let's Chat About Death podcast on TikTok, where we did this investigation, put it on camera. We've got the SLS camera, which then picks up body form or like stick figures. Now, the only way that that can happen or show is if there is something that looks like a human. If it doesn't look like a human or it doesn't resemble something, then it won't show. And you know, the souls have control of that too. They can turn it on, they can turn it off, they can do whatever. So we got some really good contact. And there was even one boy, and I can see where his grave is here now, and it's sort of towards the end of an aisle, towards the exit of the cemetery. And I think his name might have been Jude. So I walked past him the other day during my walk, and yes, I walked through the cemetery. And he, when we had the SLS camera up on him, he was just sitting on top of his monument. Now, what I mean by a monument is the marble or granite structure that they place on top of the grave after someone has been buried. For those people that don't know what a monument is, that has all the headstone and tells about a little bit of him. And he was just sitting there, legs crossed, like what most kids do. You know, sit on the floor or sit there and legs crossed, and he was waving, and it was really, it was an eye opener. I've never seen, you know, a child sit on a gravestone like that and reach out towards us, like we put our hand out, and just that whole connection that way. The other one, which I haven't seen two entities come up on the SLS camera before. If they have, if there was, they would sort of, it would be very quick, like bang, there was two, and then all of a sudden there's one. So it was focusing on two. When we went up towards this grave, we found out that two sisters were in this one grave, and they were fairly young as well. So I don't know if that was an accident or whatever. I can't even remember if they died at the same time. I don't know. I'd have to go back and have a look. But they were there, and they were dancing. And I'm sure I've got that on TikTok as well under that Let's Chat About Death podcast. And it was just, even Emma, my wife, and the kids, they were just like, wow, that just, yeah. And that's the stuff, and I don't know about you, but I'm just sitting here now, and I can feel the hairs on my arms and my back going up. But I know that each and one of you out there have probably had an experience similar to that, or you have been to the asylums, or you've been to the prisons, and you know, all sorts of things like that where you get to feel that. But what I find is, and it's like the shows, you know, I'd love to go up and do some of the asylums, but then, you know, when you get these people, all they want to do is aggravate the souls. You know, majority of these souls that are there, you can, my understanding is, you can remove them and set them free. If that's what, you know, my understanding is when it comes to the higher ones. But they don't, because if they leave, then they don't get their money. They don't get their money for the tickets, because people are going to go, or they'll leave there and, you know, and leave awful reviews because they never got anything. Now, souls aren't, you know, they're not on a payroll, so they don't just like, oh, you know, you need to come out at 8:30 tonight. they'll come out if they feel comfortable. So there's things that will happen, noises will happen that will not happen any other time unless they want to reach out to you. But there are certain parts in these prisons and asylums and other haunted sort of areas that people aren't allowed to go into because they've either been scratched or punched or tripped. Because that's when people take the mickey out of them, that's what happens. And unfortunately, it all comes down to dollars. You know, if a tour company, but yeah, like I said, not every company does it that way. Okay, I know there is some fantastic investigators out there, and that's what makes what we do a lot easier because we're able to get the same type of equipment and learn from them. But the ones that are just out there to make money, well, good on you, you know, if that's what you have to do. But on the other side, that was someone that was living, you know. And if it is something that isn't living, then you've manifested something different, and you don't want to play with that. How many of you? And I like if we're in a room at the moment, I guarantee majority of people would put their arms up. How many of you have played with a Ouija board? Mm-hmm. Yep. How many? Yes, I can sense that there is multiple people out there that have said, yes, I have. Now, as kids, you'd probably, if you played with it as a kid, you'd go, oh, yeah, I'm going to get someone to come in here. But, you know, I don't play with Ouija boards. I had, like we have at one point. But Ouija boards or spirit boards, whatever you want to call them, pendulums and things like that, have a purpose. But you need to know how to use them properly and how to close them down. Because what happens is, you know, and a majority of people are under the influence of alcohol when they do these things, so they get a little bit freaked. But they'll open it up and things happen, and then they go all laughy and oh my God, and then they run away from it. And they don't physically close it down by, you know, giving the intent that you are not to come out. This is just a communication tool. This is not anything else. Because if you leave that open and there was legit things behind it and they had the power, then they can come out of that and, you know, start taking control or energizing themselves in what you have surrounding that area. And some people have said over the years that, you know, things started happening after all of that. You know, like, oh, we did this at a party, a Halloween party. That's the other thing. Oh, we'll bring it all out at Halloween. And they took the mickey out of it, and now they want to know why people are always getting sick or why, you know, mold is starting to grow, and people go, oh, yeah, but it's just a water problem or whatever. And I get it. Yeah, I get it. But why is it? Why is it that ever since that happened, all of these other issues happen? So I'd be interested too if you knew, or if you had any stories in regards to that. And you can certainly, you know, make comment on any of our paranormal videos on our TikTok. Let's Chat About Death podcast. I'd love to hear that. But if you can't, then you can just talk. Say it out loud wherever you are, or take it into your head. That's all good. But wow, isn't that, you know, I think everyone has an interest. They may not truly believe in a lot of stuff, maybe because no one has ever taken them through that. Like, why? This is the other thing I get questions for. I mean, I pretty much know the answer, but why is it that a lot of paranormal investigations happen at night? You know, would you know what that was? A couple of things. A, it's dark, brings the whole spookiness to it, doesn't it? No, I mean that is a factor because I know from like the story I was telling you earlier that in the dark and something comes at you is not the best feeling, but it gets the adrenaline pumping. So yes, darkness. Then you start to see mist, or when you got your cameras that are on night mode, and like infrared cameras that start to show things. The other thing is too, the amount of other noise is minimal. Like if you were living next door to a train line, well, yeah, you're going to have noise. But the everyday cars, I don't know if you I mean, the difference between day and night. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but the noise. So try that the next day that you get. So you'll hear the noise during the day, and then when it's nighttime, hear that. I guarantee it. You'll say, "Oh my God, yep, that's totally different." I don't know. And it's the same with, I know it's not funeral related or hocus pocus related, but the difference between a weekday sounds different to a weekend. Guarantee it. Yep. Try it out. Like for where I am now is a Friday, and tomorrow I'm going to try it out. I have tried it out. I know it is that, but it's different. It's different. So look, I would have a look back at your life and go, what type of experience do you think that I've had that you could go, yeah, or how many people have you been around that have been into that stuff before? I don't know if you've been to a psychic or a medium before. There is some really good ones out there, and then there's some really, like anything, it's like trades and things, some rubbish ones. It's all interesting. There's power. There's power behind a lot of things, and but paranormal, man, I'll probably have a couple more episodes about paranormal because it just keeps coming, and there is more stories. But we are approaching that. You have been listening for nearly an hour, and I like to keep things wrapped up within the hour because I think that's a good thing. If you're rushing around, and I don't want you yawning off and thinking, "Oh, this is boring." But yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I have. The paranormal things and what we're into and what we're not. That's a big thing. So thank you once again for taking the time out of your day or night to listen to me ramble on about another topic of in Let's Chat About Death. Like I said before, if you want to have a look at our videos or follow us on social, we're on TikTok under Let's Chat About Death Podcast. And those that do follow me and want our merchandise, which we didn't just bring out because we wanted it, you as the listeners and the followers asked us, can we have some shirts? Can we have some sweatshirts? Can we have some hoodies and, all sorts of stuff? So we will be bringing more things out, but that is on our TikTok bio, and it's under Shopify, or even if you look up Let's Chat About Death on Shopify, you will find us. And if you have any image that you want, please just let us know. That's my sales pitch for the day. Go and buy some stuff. All right, guys, take care now. And talk to you later on. Bye. No, keep clapping.